tutorial, and in this tutorial we're going to talk about dependency injection. What is dependency injection, right? So dependency injection is a concept. It's a software technique in which one object, the application, supplies the dependency to another object. Another object can be repositories, view models, or anything, right? So or a simple class, right? So the reason for this is to increase the reusability and testability of the code. Okay, testability of the code in the sense like the unit test of the code, right? It's much easier to unit test the code if you have a dependency injection, right? And to shift the responsibility, the another option is advantage also to shift the responsibility for creating instances from our components to the application class. So one of the benefit of dependency injection concerns how objects are created across the code base, right? So dependency injection separates the creation of objects from its uses. In other words, one object shouldn't care how another object is created, so it should only be concerned with the interaction with other objects. So this is the concept that we have to take in note, right? So actually there is multiple techniques to do dependency injection in your software, right? One is a very simple approach, is a manual dependency injection, which you in which like you don't implement any dependencies. So manual dependency injection is a technique in which developers handle dependency injection manually by creating container classes. So in this in this tutorial, I will be focusing mostly on the manual dependency injection. I will be giving a simple demo how can we do a manual dependency injection. But there are also some other techniques like where you have to add some dependencies. Okay, like Dagger. So Dagger is one of the dependency injection framework developed for Java. Okay, so it allows you to group your dependency into different modules. You can also define components where the modules are added to create the dependency graph, and which Dagger automatically implements to perform the injection. Okay, it relies on annotation processor to generate the necessary code to perform the injection. A specialized implementation of Dagger called Hilt is useful for Android application because it removes a lot of boilerplate codes and simplifies the process. Okay, so the another dependency injection framework is called Coin. Coin is a very lightweight dependency injection library which is developed for Kotlin. Okay, it doesn't rely on annotation processor like Dagger, but it relies on a Kotlin's mechanism to perform the injection. So here we can also split dependency into different modules. So as I told you earlier, we will be in this chapter, in this topic, in this tutorial, I will be only focusing on the manual dependency injection, and I will be giving a brief demo. So in order to understand how dependency injection works, the first approach that you have to do is always do the manual dependency injection, so that you will understand in depth how dependency injection works. So for this reason, I would like to give a demo of how we can do dependency injection manually, okay, without adding any libraries, external libraries. Okay, so in this demonstration, I will be creating a simple manual dependency injection demo application. So which will contain like a simple repository which will generate a random number and a view model object with a live data object responsible for retrieving the number generated by the repository and pushing it to the live data object. So in order to do so, we will create two containers that will manage the following dependency, like a repository, view model factory responsible for creating the view models. So first let's go to your build.gradle and check out if you have added the view model and live data dependencies. So these two dependencies are necessary for this manual dependency injection. And then now let's go to my folder where I have created a subfolder called DI, which stands for dependency injection. I'm going to create a manual dependency injection. I have created this manual DI activity, which pretty much consists of a simple like a button, a randomize. When you click, you could create a random number, right? So okay, so let's go and create a number repository class. It's not a class, it's an interface actually. Interface. So this number repository will have a function that generates next number okay, this number will be obviously a int. So now we will need to implement the number repository implementation. Okay, number repository. So let's go and create the number repository implementation. Number repository implementation. So in this number repository implementation, what we're gonna do, we're gonna create a private random number, and obviously we have to implement our number repository and implement the members, and we have our member function is generate next number. So let's go and implement this one. So it will just return our random next integer number, right? So this is pretty simple implementation. Okay, so now we'll also we'll now move onto the view model. So let's go and create our view model class, which is like okay, let me create a manual view model. So this manual view model class will obviously implement the view model superclass, and here we have obviously the dependency that we are going to pass here is a repository, number repository, and it will have private val number live data. It's a mutable live data of type int. Okay, then we will also have a public number live data that we will have access to, of type live data, of type int, obviously, and it will be assigned to the value provided by our private number live data, right? Okay, so now we also need to have another function to generate the next number. To generate this next number, we'll have a number live data, post value, number repository, and generate the next number. Okay, so this is what it is. And then next we move on to our user interface. That is if you see, our user interface is consisting of our it's a pretty simple, it consists of the text view and a button, right? So you generate a random number when you click a button, right? So okay, so what else is, now let's create our first container responsible for managing the number repository. So okay, so let me create a container. As I already told you, we use dependency injection based on the containers, right? So let me create a package called container. So I will create my first container called application container class. So this application container class will consist of a number repository and number repository implementation. It will have an instance of number repository with the random class. Now let's add the container to the random application class. So we will have but we didn't create any random application class. Okay, let me create another application class called random application class. So my random application class will be like inheriting the application with on create doing nothing, and I just need the provide the instance of application container instance, right? Okay, then what next? Now we will move on to the creating create the main container in the root package, so which will need a reference to the number repository dependency, and we will provide a dependency to the view model factory required to create the main view model. So let's go and create the we created the application container, right? Then we also need to create another container, which is random container. Okay, random container. So this random container will be passing the dependency private val number repository. Okay, so we will get here the function get main view model, like not main, actually we will have get random no get manual view model factory. So you have a view model provider factory, and here we will return a object of a view model provider factory. Okay, so we need to provide override this create method that returns the manual view model. Okay, passing the number repository instance as the generics, right? Okay, so now we have this container, manual container, right? A random container. So finally we need to also modify our main this manual di activity, right? Obviously to inject our dependency from our containers and connect the UI element to display the output. So first what we'll do, we'll create our first container is a random container. Our random container will have a application as random application so random application class and application container dot number repository. So and guys, okay, so main important thing is like go to your manifest and be careful that you have to obviously the activity, and here I have a doc application from my previous but actually be careful, like you have to add here a random application, my random application class, right? So and okay, obviously we have now created the instance of our main container. Then we will have now our view model, which is a view model provider. Our container is a random container dot get manual view model factory. Okay, then which will get the manual view model class. So after we get the view model, we use this live data, number live data, and then observe this view value. Okay, let's use the binding. Let's get the text view and the text and set the value that we have observed, right? String. Okay, so this is how it is happening here, right, guys? Okay, what next is obviously we also need to generate a random number by clicking the button, right? So we have our binding button set on click listener and view model, which is our view model. No, sorry guys, which view model is this happening here? View model. Okay, we generate the next number, random number. Okay, so that's it, guys. Okay, actually, you know how what is happening here is like we are using the these containers to pretty much do the dependency injection, right? uh, so that manage the dependencies, right? So this is the concept, and I hope yeah, it's a very easy concept. So actually the dependency is managed by creating containers. So right, so we created two containers. One is a random container, and then another one is the application container. So yeah, and okay, let's go and run this application and see if it's pretty working fine. So you see that your view model provider needs our factory get manual. Okay, you see here we are, our random container is being instantiated here, passing the dependency that our dependency was this number repository, right, which was passed from the application class, right? So our application has the instance once here, and it is pretty much injected, the dependency is injected here in this particular manner, okay, using the containers, right? So this is how the manual dependency injection work. So pretty much if you randomize, you see you create random numbers, and yeah, it's pretty working fine, guys. So this is the simple demonstration of how manual dependency injection works. Hope everything is clear. If you have any questions, please do write me, and thank you for watching, guys.